My name is Dr. Ron Cross, and this is Boomer Life Lessons and Stories. I hope this new episode finds you well and doing all the things that are necessary and sufficient to create value for yourself and your company, and of course, your family. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is perhaps of interest to everyone. 4 steps or things to do or questions to ask yourself before you do anything, and that will help you do better going forward. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But before we go there, please like, share, and subscribe. Doing so will help us with the YouTube algorithm, and it will help us reach more people. We're all about creating a little bit of joy and happiness by some of the stories that we tell and the information we provide. So if something that we've said is entertaining to you or useful to you, please don't hesitate to share our content with others. So let's go ahead and get started with our episode. The title of the episode is Rotary's 4-Way Test, a Code to Live By. Now, let's go and approach that from this perspective. You know, we know that there are things that are of great value out there in the environment. And when I say they're of great value and that they are unique, people may say, in answer to the question, what is unique and of great value? They may say it's diamonds, it's rubies, it's sapphires. But of course, in my book, that's not necessarily so. As a matter of fact, I think it's something that is not so. Well, what about gold, silver, platinum? And you'd say, oh yeah, that's the answer. That's the things that are unique and of great value. But if I were to say that's also not true, I hope it doesn't surprise you or offend you. Well, what about collectibles? There's many of you that collect things of interest, the unique things, the rare things like a Horace Wagner baseball card, right? Very valuable, millions of dollars paid for those. But I would have to say, no, that's not of great value. Now, one of the reasons why I say this is I've gone to many estate sales. And typically these are sales that are put on for the benefit of the family. Someone either is downsizing or a family member has passed. And they're just selling their possessions and getting money that will be of use and benefit to the family. So, you know, one of the things I've come to realize about physical possessions, and that includes any assets that we may have invested in, excuse me, they're transitory. They're here today and gone tomorrow. And that we don't really own them. We perhaps are custodians of them because we care and take care and archive and we propagate these items through time, and then we give them up for somebody else to curate these items, whether again it's gold, silver, jewelry, collectibles, or other types of assets. And they're curated for the benefit of the individual and the individual's family. But they're not really unique, nor are they lasting. A lot of these items are consumed and they wear out. So again, I ask you, really, what is very valuable and unique? And I will add to that statement or question, what is lasting and unique? And I think that one of the things that you'll find that is really unique, and there's nothing like each one, are the relations we create with other people. Now you stop and think about that. I'm a unique individual, and I create a relationship with a new colleague or friend, and there's nothing like that relationship in the entire world. It's unique to me and the other individual. So what is important about creating long-lasting relationships that are of value to individuals, who mutually consent to enter into these relationships, these friendships, that propagate forward in time? Well, I would say trust and confidence, wouldn't you? Would you create a friendship with something or someone, I should say, that is not trustworthy? Would you embrace a friendship of someone that perhaps today would be there for you, but tomorrow would do something that would create negativity in your life or hurt your family? I don't think so. So when we talk about the relationships, the good relationships that we have that are long lasting, they are valuable and unique. There's nothing more precious than your family and your friends, right? So giving that, how can we promote the trust and develop these relationships into something of great value that will not only be of benefit to ourselves, but to our family and to our community? Well, that brings us to the topic here that relates to the title of this episode. It's the four-way test. And before I get into the details of the four-way test, I'd like to share with you a little bit of the history of when it was created and why it was created. The creator of the four-way test was Herbert J. Taylor. He created it in 1932. Just prior to that, he was asked by the creditors of a company that was literally bankrupt. Their assets were less valuable than the what they owed to the banks and their investors. So they were literally bankrupt. They were still alive, so to speak, but you might say it was a husk, a shell of a company, because it really was bankrupt and perhaps just didn't know it at the time. The one thing I will say about that situation, if you read through it, is that the creditors saw value in the company. The creditors who could have forced that company to liquidate and get pennies on the dollar from their investment or what was owed to them. They could have done that, but they didn't. They saw that perhaps even though the company literally was bankrupt, it could be resurrected and be of value going forward. So the creditors really asked, and he accepted, basically Herbert J. Taylor to come in and see if he could turn the company around. And as a matter of fact, he went out and in that time frame, 1930s, early 1930s, he actually was able to get a bank loan of about $6,100. And that's all the money the company had, plus its assets, its buildings, and the products that it had in inventory and the work in process. But not much more. And still, the creditors were owed a lot more than that. So he became president, and he sat at his desk and he thought to himself, our competitors are good companies and they're financially sound. We're not. Our competitors have really good products, but so do we. We have really good products. Our competitors have a great relation with their customers, and we're okay with our customers. But what do we need to do differently that will differentiate ourselves between our competitors and our company in the eyes of our customers? And so he sat down and he wrote 4 questions. And he was thinking, I need to create, in today's vernacular, a mission statement that will allow us to do better as a company and maybe do better with our suppliers and create a brand awareness that is valued, more valued perhaps than it is today in the eyes of our customer. And normally a mission statement is statements of fact of what you as a company will attempt to do. They may even be statements of ethics of how you're going to do business. And Taylor said the company had statements of ethics, but they were pages and pages long, and they ceased to be useful because they were very long and cumbersome, and nobody ever really remembered them. So he thought, if I could come up with something that is very short and succinct, that will drive closure to a change in how we do business and how we're perceived as a company. I need to do something different. Perhaps I need to, rather than put people on the spot and say, by direction, you will do this, right? Which is kind of an imperative, and it's kind of like the king or queen's command. You don't get a say in it. Or do something different by asking questions of us as individuals, as executive management, supervision, manufacturing, marketing, our suppliers, that would cause us pause to think about what it is we're about to do. Now that's a different take, isn't it? So he said, these 4 questions that I've come up with, before I put it out to the company, I'm going to test myself with it for the next week or so before I do anything. And as I review all the material that comes across my desk, I'm going to filter it through these 4 questions. And I'm going to determine, does anything need to change? Is it okay? Anything that I'm about to do, is it okay in light of these 4 questions? Is the material that I'm reviewing to be put out to our employees or to our customer base, is it accurate and good to put out to our customers? By using these 4 questions, this filtering. So when he did that, after about a week or so, he realized, man, this is hard. Something's going to have to change, not with how I perceive business, but how I conduct myself as an individual. And you see, that's a very important point. We bring ourselves to a place of business, but we're individuals, and we're the sum total of everything we've seen, smelt, tasted, felt, endured, experienced in our past life. And all that culminates into who we are today. And if you want to make a change, you have to overcome all that history, that programming, if you will, to do something different, to be a different person, to be a better person. So he realized that he began to change over the weeks that followed after he created these 4 questions. Now, he, as of yet, Taylor has not shared this with any of his subordinates in the company. And after about a month, he realized, you know, this is really of value. It is helping us be better as a company by the decisions I'm making just by using these 4-way tests. You know, one of the quotes he put out as he reflected on the history of what he went through, he said, "We have learned that the friendship and confidence of those with whom we associate is essential to permanent success in business." Now you think about that. It not only changed how he addressed his subordinates and the employees of the company, it changed how he dealt with his competitors. As a matter of fact, when he put it out to the company and he basically educated all the employees of the company and said, we will use these 4 questions and reflect on these before we do anything as individuals in our job with the company. What he found was it changed their literature. Rather than bad-mouthing basically their competitors, it talked highly of their competitors. Rather than bad-mouthing something about a competitor's employee or dignitary, they talked highly of them. And you know what it did as they went through and did this with their suppliers and their competitors, and they put out literature about their products to their customers? All those individuals and those other groups began to take notice. Wow, there's something different about this company. They stand for something. What we do know now is if they say something, we know that it is the truth. Think about that. You know, your reputation is very critical. It's very critical to any place that you go, because before you get there, your reputation is already there. People are already going to formulate how you're going to react and behave in that destination that you're going to. And they're making decisions well before you get there to plead your case or whatever it is you have to say in that meeting or that organizational discussion or whatever it is. I've just hit 15 minutes. I hope you bear with me because this is so very, very important. He said, We have found that you cannot apply the four-way test to all your relations with others 8 hours each day in business without getting into the habit of doing it in your home and your social and community life. You thus become a better father, a better friend, and a better citizen. And I would add to that, a better person, really, because we have all people engaged in business and in social organizations and in charitable organizations. He said it began to change him as an individual and made him better. And when he put it out as a kind of a mission statement of questions, it began to change permanently the company, the employees in that company. And you know, the company paid its debt off, and over the next few years, it returned value to the owners of the company by way of dividend payments in excess of millions of dollars. And you think about that, that was in the 30s and 40s. It was of such importance that the Rotary Club in 1943 adopted it as something of importance in the way they should end all their meetings. So he took on the challenge of resurrecting a company from the edges of bankruptcy. It was actually already bankrupt and it didn't know it. He took something and made a change in the individual that was an employee in the company. He made a change in how they dealt with the relations and the people they had, their suppliers, their customers, anybody, even the family members of the employees of this company. So if it's that dramatic and that powerful, I would ask you, what sort of code do you live by that is so effective in turning a company around and pulling it back from the edge of bankruptcy to the point that it impacts the individual so much, it changes the way you literally deal with yourself and question yourself and how you treat other people, how you engage with other people to the point that you become a better person. These questions hold you accountable to a higher standard. Now, let me say something before I share these 4 questions, the 4-way test, about the people that are members of the Rotary Club. They are some of the finest people that are your neighbors that live in your community and your cities that you will ever find. They're generous public servants. And I'm not talking about they work for the city government, the county government, or the public or the federal government. And they could be those individuals as well. But when I say a servant, I'm talking about somebody that willfully contributes to the well-being of others who may have a need, who may not be as well off as other people. Somebody that might be suffering because of their financial position. I have witnessed over the last 2 years the members of this club come together and identify needs around the community. This is actually in Arlington, Texas, the Sunrise Rotary Club of Arlington, Texas. These individuals have come together to service a need in this great city. And they've helped students who didn't have the supplies that they needed for school. They've helped them by way of providing coats. They've provided meals and supplies to teachers. They've opened up organizations and funded organizations that would help orphans who have aged out of the orphanage as adults transition into adult life by providing them a place to live until they could get on their feet. They've done this and more. They've done it locally and they've done it globally. They've gone out and identified areas, rural areas that needed wells. They provided funds and even rolled up their shirt sleeves and gone and dug those wells. They built the buildings, built the schoolhouses. Any needs that were identified, the Rotary Club, the local clubs, and there's many of them around in Arlington and this great state of Texas and the other great states of the United States and other countries. They've gone out and tried to fulfill and help those that were in need of their needs. So what reminds these individuals that they have a higher calling? It's called the 4-way test. and I would like to share it with you and then briefly comment on each one of them. The four-way test is really Business Ethics 101. Of the things we think, say, or do, number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Wow. You start asking yourself those four questions every time you get to a point where you need to do something. If you're honest with yourself, you're going to be considering the well-being of others as you consider the well-being of your organization. You're going to consider the well-being of your employees and how it might affect their families. You're going to consider the well-being of the community and how it might affect the community at large. If you ask yourself before you begin to say something, is it the truth? Will it change what you say? Perhaps. We have a tendency to hyperbole, don't we? We have a tendency to cultivate the truth a little bit to make it more favorable so that we look better at times. But if you ask yourself before you say something, is it the truth? It means, are you going to be factual? You're not going to get in trouble for that, are you? It's going to be helpful because it's going to hold you to be the honest person that you can be and should be as you deal with others. Is it fair to all concerned? Now, that's a powerful question. I know that a lot of us think of business as a win-lose scenario. We're going to win, but our competitors are going to lose. They must lose because we cannot do better unless they lose. Well, no. Taylor found out that as he spoke highly of the competitors, his company did better, and it built better relationships with the people in those other companies, and it opened opportunities for his company as well. And guess what? The consumer respected them for that. It didn't go away and leave them. It said, wow, this company is not saying anything derogatory about its competition. It seems like perhaps the political environment in today in which we live could take note of this. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? We oftentimes think about doing something and we know, well, this person over here is not going to like it, or that organization is not going to like it, or that department's not going to like it, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's better for my department or myself or my family. It's not building goodwill in the community. Well, you know, part of the value of a company is in the goodwill that the community perceives in the company, that the community gives the company. They believe this company is of value because it's concerned about me as an individual. You don't get that statement from individuals who know that you've done them wrong in the past. You've made decisions that put them at a disadvantage, right? So when you ask that question of yourself, will it build goodwill and better friendships? You hold yourself accountable to what you say and do and what you think. Number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned? There's no win-lose scenario here. When you strive to create a scenario that's win-win for everyone, you're creating a world that is going to be that will receive great benefit from you and the organizations that you're a part of and the organizations and people that they've helped, because they turn around and endeavor to create goodwill to others. And so it propagates forward in time. All of this came from Taylor in 1932 when he created the four-way test. And it's been so impactful. It has spread around the world. And people ask themselves, if not on a daily basis, at least on a weekly basis, these four-way tests for the individual, for the organization, and for the company. And before I end, what I would like to do is as the music plays, share some of the pictures of our local Rotary Club here in Arlington, Texas. And again, I say there's many, but my particular club that I am a member of and proud to be a member of is the Sunrise Rotary Club of Arlington, Texas. And with that, my friends, take care and all